The countdown was already in its final seconds, and as the massive observatory in the Nevada desert hummed with nervous energy, humanity collectively held its breath. In the control room, screens flickered with cascading data, each pulse a promise of the unknown. Dr. Elena Reyes stood before the central console, her eyes reflecting both the brilliance of human ingenuity and the weight of unspoken consequences. This was not just a technological marvel, it was humanity's hopeful message cast into the void. Outside, a storm of lights and sound enveloped the launch complex. Engineers, scientists, and military personnel moved with precision and urgency, their synchronized actions a testament to decades of collaboration. The Beacon Project, humanity's first deliberate call into the cosmos, had been designed to showcase our unity and aspiration. It was meant to be a symbol of progress, a shining example of what could be achieved when Earth set aside its differences to reach for the stars. At the exact moment the final digit hit 0, the colossal transmitter erupted in a burst of luminescence, its signal piercing the night sky like a bolt of pure determination. The light cascaded upward, a beacon of hope that stretched far beyond the blue atmosphere, carrying with it every dream, every ambition, and every secret of the human race. In the midst of this orchestrated triumph, Commander Marcus Hale surveyed the operation from a mobile command unit stationed miles away. His steely gaze belied the calm of a man who had seen too many battles to allow optimism to cloud his tactical judgment. "Keep your eyes peeled, Reyes," he murmured over the comms, his voice low yet resolute. His words, though few, were laced with an undercurrent of caution that belied the euphoric atmosphere. For a fleeting moment, the world seemed to pause, a suspended note in the symphony of progress. Elena's mind raced through calculations and scenarios. The broadcast was flawless, but as she looked at the flickering data streams, a subtle irregularity pricked her awareness. It was as if the signal, so meticulously crafted and imbued with humanity's brightest hopes, was whispering secrets of its own. The festivities erupted around her. News networks broadcast live images of jubilant crowds in cities worldwide, their faces illuminated by the glow of an achievement they barely comprehended. But amid the celebrations, Elena couldn't shake the uneasy sensation that this brilliant light was casting long, dark shadows. What if, hidden within the cosmic silence, there were eyes already watching? What if the very act of announcing our presence would stir forces we were unprepared to face? Even as technicians cheered and the world embraced the promise of interstellar kinship, the subtle tremors of forewarning began to stir. Somewhere in the distant reaches of space, an answer was forming, a response neither anticipated nor wanted. Elena's pulse quickened as she reviewed one anomalous data spike among the routine transmissions. It was almost imperceptible, a barely there ripple that could easily be dismissed as a sensor error. But her instincts, owned by years of unrelenting inquiry, told her otherwise. Commander Hale's voice broke through her thoughts once more, a quiet command against the cacophony of celebration. "Status report, Elena. Is everything nominal?" His tone was pragmatic, yet laced with a subtle edge of urgency. Elena forced a measured calm as she replied, "All systems green, but there's an anomaly, something subtle in the feedback loop. I'm running diagnostics now." Her words, though soft, carried the weight of impending realization. She knew that the beacon's message was meant to connect, to inspire, yet it might also be the harbinger of encounters not rooted in friendship. As the night sky continued to blaze with the light of the beacon, the spark of curiosity and dread intertwined in the hearts of those who had made the leap. Humanity had dared to shout into the cosmic darkness, and while the echo of hope filled the void, it also stirred an ancient silence, one that might just answer back. In that charged moment, under the brilliant glow of human achievement, a silent promise was made. Whatever the response, Earth would stand united. The beacon had been ignited, and with it the first chapter of an unforeseen saga had begun. In the wake of the beacon's triumphant launch, a tense calm settled over control centers around the globe. Days after that fateful night, as the initial euphoria began to subside, Dr. Elena Reyes and her team gathered once more in the high-security communications hub deep beneath the observatory. The room, filled with blinking consoles and humming servers, was a place where raw data met human intuition. Now, it would be the crucible for the next unfolding chapter of their venture into the unknown. As the team pored over streams of incoming data, a pattern emerged that defied their expectations. The beacon's outward brilliance had been met not by a chorus of friendly cosmic echoes, but by a solitary, insistent reply, a transmission that pulsed with a rhythm both calculated and unsettling. The message was encoded in layers of cryptic symbols, an alien language of mathematics and art that hinted at intelligence far removed from human sentiment. The air grew heavy with anticipation and dread. Elena's fingers flew over the keyboard as she initiated the decoding protocol. "This isn't just a greeting," she murmured, more to herself than to her colleagues. Each successive line of data brought forth fragments of an ominous narrative. The transmission wasn't a call for friendship. It was a warning, an admonition cloaked in enigma that spoke of things lurking in the darkness of space. The tone was less a message of curiosity and more a command, as if the sender demanded a response that was not negotiable. In a dim corner of the hub, a young analyst named Ravi glanced at Elena with eyes wide in disbelief. "Doctor, are you seeing this? The structure? It's like nothing we've encountered before." His voice, low and tremulous, underscored the gravity of the discovery. For a moment, the room fell silent except for the mechanical hum of machinery and the distant echoes of previous celebrations that now felt hauntingly distant. The coded transmission, when finally partially deciphered, revealed a series of mathematical sequences interwoven with stark, almost imperceptible warnings. Each symbol seemed to pulsate with an intensity that resonated with an underlying menace. The alien language, while logical, conveyed an urgency that made Elena's pulse quicken. It was as if the message was not meant for idle curiosity, but for immediate action, a prelude to something far more formidable. Commander Marcus Hale, whose earlier caution had already cast a pall over the Beacon Project's initial optimism, made his way into the room. His presence was a reminder of the thin line between hope and peril. "Dr. Reyes, any word on the transmission?" he asked quietly, his tone laced with the discipline of a seasoned strategist. Elena met his gaze with a mixture of resolve and concern. "It's not a greeting, Marcus," she replied, her voice steady but laden with an unspoken urgency. "It's a directive, and it carries warnings we can't ignore." As hours melted into a restless night, the team worked feverishly, their collective minds racing against the inexorable pull of the unknown. Each deciphered fragment hinted at an alien empire with a long history of conquest and an unyielding will to expand. The message, while cryptic, suggested that the civilization on the other end of the void was not only aware of the beacon, but was also mobilizing for something far darker than a simple exchange of pleasantries. In the quiet hum of the control room, amid the dance of light across screens and the relentless tapping of keys, humanity's bravest minds faced the realization that their call into the cosmos had not gone unanswered. Instead, it had stirred a power that lay in wait, a power with plans and a presence that stretched across unimaginable distances. Outside, the night sky remained vast and indifferent, the stars silent witnesses to the unfolding drama below. The transmission had become both a beacon and a harbinger, its encoded warnings an ominous prelude to the challenges that lay ahead. And as Elena and her team continued to untangle the threads of the alien message, a singular, inescapable truth settled over them. The void was no longer empty, and humanity's journey into the unknown had just taken a perilous turn. The question was no longer if, but when. The cosmic response would evolve from a mere signal into the first sign of an impending storm, a storm that could either unify Earth in its hour of need or shatter the fragile veneer of hope that had once defined the Beacon Project. A week after the Beacon's broadcast, the night sky above Earth began to betray subtle, unsettling changes. At the Global Command Center, a high-security facility deep underground, screens that once displayed routine data now showed shifting silhouettes in orbit. Dr. Elena Reyes's fingers hovered over the console, her eyes fixed on a cluster of unidentified objects circling the planet. The collective hum of the room turned tense. The images were grainy at first, but as enhanced feeds came online, a horrifying realization emerged. An armada of alien vessels was assembling, their angular forms gliding silently like predatory shadows. Among the team, whispers of dread spread, as if the very air had thickened with the weight of impending doom. "Commander Hale, you need to see this," Elena said quietly, her voice a mix of awe and alarm. She gestured toward a massive holographic display that now dominated the center of the room. The fleet, glistening with an eerie luminescence, moved with uncanny precision. No playful exploration was evident, only the cold efficiency of an invading force. Commander Marcus Hale strode into the control room, his face set in a grim mask that betrayed little emotion. "Status?" he barked, his tone clipped. Elena didn't need to say much more. The images said it all. "These aren't scouts," she replied. "They're here with intent. Look at their formation. It's military grade. We've been discovered, and by something far more organized than we ever imagined." The room fell silent as the team processed the gravity of the situation. Ravi, the young analyst from earlier, leaned forward, eyes wide. "It's like they're testing us. That one ship off the flank. It's doing maneuvers, almost like it's trying to draw a response." Hale's jaw tightened. "Drawing a response, or a reaction. We must assume this is an overt display of power." His words carried the weight of countless conflicts from his past, an experience that now made him all too familiar with the dread of a prelude to war. Before anyone could formulate a countermeasure, an alert shattered the tense quiet. A missile-like projectile streaked from one of the unidentified ships and grazed a distant orbital station. The brief flash and the ensuing burst of electromagnetic interference on the screens sent a shockwave of panic through the control center. The projectile was not meant to destroy the station, but to warn, a calculated act of aggression meant to test Earth's readiness. "Report!" Hale roared into his comms as he monitored multiple feeds. Elena's mind raced. The missile was too precise, too controlled. This was not random violence, but a deliberate demonstration of capability. Within moments, the fleet adjusted its formation. A smaller group of vessels detached, racing away from Earth's orbit at breakneck speed. The sudden tactical maneuver was inexplicable, a twist that hinted at a deeper strategy. Elena's heart pounded. Were these decoys meant to distract them from something more sinister? As the minutes ticked by, another transmission materialized on the main screen. Unlike the cryptic warnings of the initial alien message, this was a visual sequence, a series of symbols, rapidly cycling through what appeared to be an alien language. The message was broadcast in the void, and though no one fully understood it, a clear intent shone through. This was not a diplomatic greeting, but a warning, a challenge to humanity's right to exist. Hale's voice, measured yet urgent, cut through the tension. "We need to prepare for every contingency. Dr. Reyes, decode that sequence. Ravi, cross-reference our historical satellite data. See if there's any hint of what these symbols might mean." Elena nodded, though her eyes betrayed a storm of emotions. "There's something odd here. The sequence isn't just a threat. It's a directive. It implies that our beacon wasn't the sole trigger, but part of a larger chain of events. A test we've unwittingly passed or failed." Her statement hung in the air, igniting a mixture of fear and grim determination among the gathered experts. Just then, a secondary alert flashed across the main monitor, a high-priority warning that the alien fleet had begun positioning itself around strategic communication satellites. The message was clear: silence the Earth's countermeasures or face total isolation. The gravity of their situation settled like a stone in every heart present. Humanity was not only being watched but actively cornered. In a hushed exchange, Hale and Elena met eyes across the room. "This isn't just an invasion," Hale said quietly. "It's a calculated ambush. They know our weaknesses. They're not here to talk. They're here to conquer." As the chapter of First Contact turned deadly, Earth's defenders braced themselves for the inevitable storm. In the cold glow of screens and the distant hum of an alien armada, humanity found itself at a crossroads. Remain passive in the face of annihilation, or fight back against an enemy that had already declared war. The unseen menace had revealed itself, and with it came a challenge that would test the limits of human ingenuity, unity, and courage. Diplomatic channels had long since fallen silent. Now, as the alien fleet encircled Earth like an ominous shroud, global leaders scrambled in panic and determination to decipher the enemy's intentions and to forge a plan for survival. In a vast, high-security war room beneath the United Nations headquarters, representatives from every major nation gathered around a sprawling digital map. Red blips marked key communication satellites, military bases, and major urban centers. The once proud glow of progress had been replaced by an anxious urgency. General Luis Moreno, his voice gravely from years of command, broke the silence. "We are not facing a mere nuisance. This is a calculated assault on every node of our civilization. They're not here to parley. They're here to dominate." Ambassador Jade Okafor, her eyes fixed on the pulsating red indicators, replied, "Our previous channels of dialogue have been overridden by displays of power. We attempted peace. They met it with lethal force. We must now consider every possibility, even the unthinkable." Across town, in a subterranean military operations center, Commander Marcus Hale and his select team were deep in discussion. A holographic projection of Earth rotated slowly before them, its familiar continents now scarred by new threats. Hale's tone was measured but urgent as he addressed his officers. Every intercepted signal, every calculated strike, they're orchestrated. Our enemy knows us well, and they're exploiting our vulnerabilities. But that knowledge is our advantage. We have to adapt, innovate, and strike back smartly. At that moment, Dr. Elena Reyes, fresh from her tireless work decoding alien transmissions, entered the operations center. Her presence quieted the room. "I've pieced together the fragments of their communications," she announced. "These messages aren't just threats, they're directives. Their latest sequence indicates that our coordinated countermeasures will be anticipated and crushed unless we disrupt their logic. They expect us to behave predictably. We have to surprise them." A murmur of agreement rippled through the gathered strategists. In one corner, Dr. Malik, a maverick astrophysicist, leaned forward with a spark in his eyes. "We might not have their firepower," he said, "but we do have the capacity to repurpose our own assets. Our satellites, our communications networks. If we can integrate our beacon's underlying signal patterns into our counter-strategy, we might turn their technology against them." Ambassador Okafor interjected softly, "While our military mobilizes, we must also prepare our people. The streets are already filled with emergency sirens and calls to arms. The world outside is as much a battleground as the skies above." Back in the war room, the digital map suddenly flickered. A new alert flashed. An alien drone had breached the defenses of a vital European communication hub. The live feed showed chaos unfolding, smoke billowing over a cityscape as civilians scrambled for safety. General Moreno's jaw tightened. "That's our next target," he muttered. "If they cripple our networks further, the entire fabric of our society could unravel." Commander Hale's eyes narrowed as he issued orders over the secure comm link. "Prepare rapid response teams. We're mobilizing to retake that hub at all costs. Every moment we delay gives the enemy more time to consolidate their hold." In a brief, tense exchange of strategic directives and updates, it became clear that Earth was teetering on the edge of a precipice. The alien empire's strategy was both clinical and merciless, designed to instill fear while systematically erasing humanity's strengths. Yet amid the despair, a fierce undercurrent of human resilience emerged. As dusk gave way to the inky black of night, ordinary citizens, once blissfully unaware, now rallied together. Makeshift community defense cells organized in town halls, and volunteer networks sprang up to aid the injured and secure vital infrastructure. Television and radio broadcasts carried messages of unity and hope, urging every person to prepare, to resist, and to remember that Earth had faced challenges before. In the war room, as the leaders exchanged glances laden with the weight of their responsibilities, Commander Hale concluded, "We stand at a crossroads. The shadows over Earth may be deep, but within them we find the spark of ingenuity and unity that has always defined us. We are not surrendering without a fight. His words, echoing off the cold concrete walls, infused the room with a tentative resolve. Though the alien menace had cast its long, dark shadow, the defiant spirit of humanity burned brighter than ever, an ember ready to ignite a blaze of resistance in the face of overwhelming odds. The first light of dawn revealed a nightmare in progress. In orbit above Earth, alien warships unleashed a torrent of plasma missiles, turning the tranquil skies into a seething canvas of destruction. On the ground, alarms blared as cities braced for impact. The once celebratory beacon project now served as the harbinger of war. In a makeshift command center nestled beneath a shattered city, Commander Marcus Hale barked orders over the comms. All units, this is Hale. We're taking the fight to them. Initiate defensive protocols and scramble the interceptors. I want every fighter in the sky within the next 5 minutes. His voice, gritty and resolute, cut through the chaos. At the same time, in a fighter jet streaking through the smoke-filled sky, Lieutenant Zara Malik gripped the controls. Commander, we've got multiple targets on our tail. Engaging now, she called out, her tone a blend of adrenaline and determination. The jet's control panel flickered as she dodged a barrage of alien plasma. Her training and instinct took over, turning the cockpit into a battlefield of split-second decisions. Down below, Dr. Elena Reyes monitored the chaos from a secured communications hub. Despite the dire situation, her mind raced with possibilities. Marcus, I've intercepted a signal from the alien command ship, she reported urgently. It's coordinating these strikes with military precision. They're not just testing us, they're here to break our will. Her revelation sparked a murmur of concern among the technicians crowded around her console. Back in the skies, Zara's jet maneuvered dangerously close to a cluster of enemy fighters. I've got visual on an enemy wingman. Lock on, she shouted into her headset. The ensuing dogfight was brutal. Bursts of plasma illuminated the dark as sleek alien crafts danced around her, their movements methodical and deadly. Hold steady, Zara. Use the ridge, a voice crackled from the wing as her wingmen covered her flank. The tactical advice was a lifeline in the maelstrom. Meanwhile, on the ground, Commander Hale's eyes flicked over the tactical display. A red dot pulsed over a major communications center, a critical node that, if taken out, would plunge entire regions into silence. We cannot let them cripple our network, he muttered. He immediately dispatched a rapid response team. Unit Bravo, you're on recon and hold. I want that hub retaken before it goes dark. His orders resonated with urgency, the weight of every lost link in global communication, a threat to humanity's coordination. The alien fleet's assault was unyielding. Explosions rippled across distant cityscapes as orbital bombardments scorched the Earth, while fighter jets engaged in desperate aerial duels. Amid the chaos, a surprising twist emerged. One alien craft, separated from its formation, veered off course. Its trajectory suggested either a malfunction or, more disturbingly, a hesitation. Command, I'm picking up an anomaly in their formation, Zara reported, her voice steady despite the mayhem. That ship isn't following orders. Could it be defecting? In a hushed command back at the operations center, Hale replied, Maintain contact and observe. It might be a diversion, or, dare I hope, a crack in their armor. Dr. Ray's eyes widened as she rechecked the intercepted signal. That ship's code doesn't match the others. This anomaly might be our opening, she whispered, a mix of hope and fear in her tone. The battle raged on, the skies and earth caught in an inferno of war. Every command, every counterattack was a desperate bid to turn the tide. In that cacophony of violence and valor, humanity was forced to confront the brutal reality. The beacon had lit more than just a path to the stars. It had ignited an inferno that might either consume them or forge them anew. As the day wore on and the echoes of battle reverberated across the scarred landscape, the fate of Earth hung by a thread. In the midst of destruction, the anomaly in the alien formation shone like a beacon of possibility. A twist in the enemy's plan that might just buy humanity the time it desperately needed to rally, to fight back, and to reclaim the skies. After the chaos of the previous battles, a fragile lull had fallen over the shattered urban landscape. Rumors circulated of a recently overrun alien outpost, a former research facility whose silent halls now housed unknown technology. Dr. Elena Reyes believed that within those ruins lay the key to turning the war in humanity's favor. If her team could infiltrate the site and seize the secrets hidden within, they might find the weakness in the alien empire's ironclad assault. In a dimly lit safe house on the outskirts of the ruined city, Elena gathered her small, elite team. Sergeant Leo Alvarez, a veteran hardened by conflict, checked his gear with methodical precision. Beside him stood Mina, a communications specialist whose nimble fingers and quick mind had already saved them more than once. Their expressions were a mix of resolve and apprehension as Elena unrolled a holographic map onto the battered table. "We're going in fast," Elena said, her voice steady but urgent. "Intelligence indicates that deep inside the outpost is an energy core, a device that controls their defensive systems. Our mission is to secure its data and, if possible, extract a sample. This could be the linchpin to disrupting their operations." Alvarez's eyes narrowed as he scanned the map. "Doctor, what if we encounter heavy resistance?" he asked quietly, the tension in his voice palpable. Elena met his gaze firmly. "We adapt and overcome. Our goal is not to engage every foe, but to get in and out before they can regroup. Stick to the plan, and if it gets too hot, we pull back." Her words hung in the stale air as the team nodded, their determination hardening. Under the cloak of twilight, the team advanced through debris-strewn alleyways toward the ruined facility. The building loomed like a ghost from a past era, its crumbling walls draped in shadows. They slipped through broken windows and narrow corridors, every footstep echoing in the silence. In a particularly narrow passage, Mina paused, her eyes flicking over a panel of alien symbols etched into the wall. "These inscriptions, they suggest the structure wasn't just a research facility. It might have been a control center for this energy core," she whispered into her comlink. A distant mechanical hum grew louder, and Alvarez signaled for silence. They pressed against the cold wall, hearts pounding. "Multiple patrol units," he murmured. "We're in a choke point." Elena's fingers brushed against a concealed panel near a heavy door. "This must be the entry to the core chamber," she said softly. With a careful press, the door slid open with a hiss, revealing a room bathed in an otherworldly glow. At its center pulsed a crystalline structure, its rhythmic light synchronized with the alien machinery surrounding it. Before Elena could approach, a series of beeps from her portable scanner broke the silence. "I'm reading an unauthorized access alert," she said. The calm was shattered by a cold, modulated voice that echoed from hidden speakers. "Unauthorized entry detected. Surrender immediately or face termination." Alvarez raised his weapon, eyes scanning for the source. "We're compromised," he barked. Elena's mind raced. "Stand down," she ordered firmly, stepping closer to the crystalline core. "We're here to learn, not to fight." The voice repeated the warning, its tone unyielding. Yet, as Elena reached out with cautious determination, the core unleashed a cascade of holographic data, alien schematics, and strategic blueprints that floated in midair. Mina's fingers danced over her device, her voice hushed but excited. "These schematics reveal their defense networks and weapon systems. This is it, Elena, the key to their command architecture." Suddenly, the heavy door burst open. Two sleek, armored alien enforcers strode into the room, weapons drawn. Alvarez shouted, "Incoming! Doctor, get that data!" In a flurry of action, the team engaged the intruders. Blaster fire lit up the room, and Mina frantically continued her data download amid the chaos. Elena, her eyes fixed on the pulsing core, managed to secure a critical cache of encrypted information, even as she exchanged rapid-fire commands with her team. "Hold them off, Mina. Finish the transfer. This might be our only chance to break their network." In that perilous moment, as the clash of alien and human resolve filled the chamber, Elena realized that the secrets gleaned from the energy core could reshape the balance of power. With every pulse of light from the crystalline device, hope grew, hope that the vulnerabilities hidden in the enemy's armor could be exploited. As Alvarez and the team repelled the intruders with sheer grit and coordinated fire, Elena secured the data. "We have what we need," she said, her voice resolute amidst the echoing chaos. "Now let's get out of here before they regroup." With a final exchange of determined glances, the team retreated into the dark corridors, carrying with them not only the stolen secrets of the alien technology, but also the fragile spark of hope that humanity might yet prevail in this war. Earth's defenders had converged in a single desperate bid to turn the tide of war. In secret bunkers, commandeered military bases, and fortified underground command centers, disparate forces melded into one unified resistance. The stolen alien schematics were now the beating heart of a counteroffensive designed to hijack the enemy's own networks. Every military strategist, scientist, and volunteer understood that this was not merely a battle for survival, it was a war for the soul of humanity. Beneath the ruined skyline of New Geneva, in a vast subterranean command center, holographic maps bathed the room in a cold blue glow. Commander Marcus Hale stood before them, studying the red arteries that connected Earth's defenses. The plan was audacious. Using the alien encryption protocols integrated with Earth's systems, they would seize control of the orbital defense arrays and disable the enemy's command nodes. As night crept over shattered cities, a determined silence fell upon the room, a collective resolve that tonight humanity would answer back. Dr. Elena Reyes moved methodically among the consoles, her hands deftly orchestrating the digital assault. The precious data extracted from the energy core was now being repurposed to disrupt the invaders' centralized command. Every keystroke, every recalibrated code, was a calculated risk against an adversary whose technology was as mysterious as it was deadly. In that charged atmosphere, every decision bore the weight of millions of lives. Yet, amid the fervor of unity, an insidious shadow crept through the ranks. In a dim corner of the control center, Ravi, the quiet, unassuming analyst who had once been a symbol of youthful promise, worked at his console with an intensity that belied his outward calm. Unknown to his colleagues, Ravi had long harbored secret ambitions, and whispers of discontent had led him to forge clandestine agreements with an emissary from the alien empire. His internal struggle had escalated over months, and now, as the counteroffensive was about to launch, his treachery threatened to unravel everything. At the moment when the synchronized assault was set to begin, Ravi's console flickered ominously. A split-second delay in the execution of critical codes sent a ripple of alarm through the network. The infiltration of his workstation allowed a stray alien signal to seep into a key control node, a vulnerability that was exploited almost immediately by the enemy. In that heartbeat of betrayal, the unified assault wavered, and the enemy's countermeasures began to coalesce. In the chaos that followed, alarms echoed through the command center. Dr. Reyes caught a glimpse of the anomaly on her screen, a subtle, insidious surge of enemy commands originating from within their own network. There was no time for accusations or heated exchanges. Hale's eyes narrowed with grim determination as he initiated an emergency protocol to isolate the compromised segment. The system hummed with frantic activity as technicians and military officers worked in unison, their actions a silent prayer against the betrayal that threatened to undo their collective efforts. Outside, coordinated strikes by fighter jets and drones rained down on enemy satellites. Explosions illuminated the night sky as the resistance fought to reclaim lost ground. Even as the tide of battle began to shift in humanity's favor, the internal fracture cast a long shadow over the operation. The enemy's command, alerted by the breach, had started to regroup its forces, intent on exploiting the fissure within the human network. Every moment was a race against time. Hale and Reyes, amid the tumult, shared a look that needed no words. A mutual acknowledgement of both the stakes at hand and the painful truth that their unity had been compromised from within. The final assault was now twofold, a battle against an external invader and a fight to root out betrayal that threatened to dismantle the hard-won coalition. As the resistance pressed forward, the betrayal proved to be both a curse and an unexpected catalyst. The urgent need to isolate the breach forced the defenders to adapt with newfound ingenuity, rallying those who remained loyal with even fiercer determination. In that crucible of fire and mistrust, the final lines were being drawn, a battle that would decide not only Earth's fate, but the very integrity of the united spirit that had brought humanity together in the darkest of times. In the swirling maelstrom of war, as the enemy's counteroffensive intensified and the traitors' actions rippled through the network, humanity stood on the precipice. The coming moments would determine if unity could withstand the corrosive power of betrayal, or if the fractures within would prove too deep to mend. The final assault had begun. Across the battered skies, a unified armada of fighter jets and drones surged forward, their synchronized maneuvers honed by months of desperate strategy. On Earth, newly repurposed orbital defense arrays, now fueled by the very alien code extracted from the energy core, blasted concentrated beams at the enemy's flagship. The colossal vessel, once a symbol of invincible might, shuddered as its internal systems flickered and failed. In the heart of the Rebel Command Center, Commander Marcus Hale watched the unfolding chaos on a panoramic display. Every red blip on the digital map was a victory. Dr. Elena Reyes, seated at a terminal amidst a sea of code and data, had initiated a final decisive upload. Her fingers danced over the controls, redirecting the enemy's own network protocols against them. The alien command structure began to collapse, each lost data packet a nail in the invader's coffin. In a low, steady tone, Hale announced, "This is it. All units, press the attack." His voice carried through the comms, bolstering the resolve of every pilot and soldier on the front line. The unified assault surged forward like a tidal wave, overwhelming the disoriented alien forces. Aboard one of the fighter jets, Lieutenant Zara Malik soared through the smoky skies. Amid the raging dogfights, she dove toward a cluster of enemy fighters that now spiraled out of formation. "For Earth!" she roared, her cry mingling with the thunder of engines and the crackle of plasma. Her jet, agile and battle-scarred, twisted around a missile that had strayed dangerously close. In a moment of defiant brilliance, she released a countermeasure that exploded into a brilliant burst of light, scattering enemy vessels like sparks in a storm. Meanwhile, on the ground, rapid response teams led by Sergeant Leo Alvarez and his squad fought through shattered streets to secure key communication centers. Every building reclaimed was a rallying point for the citizens of Earth. The betrayal that had once threatened to shatter their unity was now a lesson in vigilance. Ravi, the traitor, had been exposed and detained by his comrades, his sabotage undone by a last-minute override. His actions, though damaging, had inadvertently forced the resistance to strengthen its internal safeguards, ensuring no single point of failure could doom them again. Back in the command center, Elena's eyes scanned the final readouts. "I'm in," she murmured, as the alien flagship's command grid blinked and collapsed under the relentless onslaught of human ingenuity. The enemy's central node, once the heart of their war machine, went dark, sending shockwaves of disarray throughout the invading fleet. For the first time in weeks, the alien vessels faltered, their coordinated strikes dissolving into chaos. Hale's gaze hardened with resolve. "Now, concentrate on the flagship," he ordered, as every available fighter was directed toward the crippled enemy vessel. The flagship, now isolated in the void of space, began to break apart. Explosions rippled across its surface, sending fragments spiraling into the darkness, a fitting end to a force that had once threatened to engulf Earth. The skies over the major cities, once filled with the harbingers of destruction, slowly cleared. Below, battered survivors emerged from shelters, their faces etched with both grief and hope. In communities around the world, makeshift celebrations erupted as the news of victory spread like wildfire. The Beacon Project, a symbol that had once reached out to the stars, had ignited a revolution of unity and defiance. In the twilight of the battle, as the remaining alien ships retreated into distant space, Hale and Elena met in the quiet aftermath within the command center. The room was filled with exhausted silence and the soft hum of servers still processing the final data. Hale broke the quiet, his voice thick with emotion. Today we reclaimed not just our home, but our future. Elena, her eyes reflecting both relief and sorrow for the fallen, nodded. We've proven that our unity and ingenuity are stronger than any force of conquest. Together, they looked out through the viewport at a horizon slowly brightening with the first light of a new dawn. The scars of war would remain, but so would the determination to rebuild, to honor every sacrifice with a future free of tyranny. In that defining moment, humanity had turned the tide. The invaders had been repelled, their ambitions thwarted by the resilience and collective spirit of Earth's people. The beacon, once a mere signal into the void, now shone as a monument to hope, a reminder that when united, humanity could overcome even the darkest of nights.